Well, hello and welcome to our lesson called Mean Absolute Deviation. If you notice, the acronym for mean absolute deviation would be MAD. And that is exactly what this lesson is called. It's called MAD. To deviate, as you can see in my picture, to deviate means to stray or depart from the normal course of action. So if you can see, the road goes like this, the car is going, but the car decides to deviate and go off the normal road, off onto the dirt road. And that's what deviate means, is to go away from the norm. So what I'd like for you to do right now is just kind of pay attention and listen, then we'll probably do some practice later. So if you notice on the screen, this is from your textbook, I have a list of exam scores for students. So we have the 14 students' names, and we have all of their scores. The first thing we have to do is we have to find the mean. All right, well, we know how to do mean. Mean is we have to add all of our scores up. And when I used my calculator and I added all of the scores up together, I got a score of 1,232. Now we know in order to find the mean, we have to add these up, and then we have to divide by the number of numbers, and we know that there are 14. And so when I took 1,232 and I divided it by 14, I found the mean to be 88. Now, for scores on exams, 88 means that's the average. Most of the students in here averaged or were somewhat close to 88. Not all, but some. Now, if you look at the bottom, it says, which exam score deviates the most from the mean? Now, if you remember, if this is the norm, like our road was, if this is the norm, which one of these numbers is the furthest away or deviates the most from the norm? Well, in order to do that, we're going to look and think about this. How far is the number 89 away from 88? Well, it's 1 away. How far is the number 86 away from 88? 86, the difference between those two differences would mean to be subtract would be 2. 80, 88 minus 80, that's 8 places away. There's another 80, 8 places away. How far is 96 away from 88? Well, on a number line, 96 is going to be larger, so I'm going to have to take 96 and I'm going to subtract 88 from it to find out that this is also 8 places away. This is 8 places lower, 96 is 8 places higher. 95 on a number line. If I went from 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, it's going to be 7 places away. Oh, there's another 96. That's 8 places away. 92. Let's see, how far would 92 be away from 88? All right, that's going to be 4 places away. The number 90. 88, that's only 2 places away. 76. If I was at 88 and I had to go backwards all the way on a number line to 76, how far would that one go? Yep, you're correct. It's 12 places away. 94. Let's see, another student has 94. Let's see if that would be 6 places away. 89. That's only 1 place away. 88 and 84, the difference would be 4. And of course, this one then would be the difference of 3. So what I had to do first step was I had to find the mean. The second step is, if you notice what I've done is I've looked at each data value that I have, and I've found out how far away is that number away from my mean. So when it says down here, which exam score deviates the most? Well, it looks like to me 76 deviates the most because it is 12 places away from the 88. That's the furthest away. So this answer would be the score of 76. Which exam score deviates the least, which means which number is the closest to 88? Well, it looks like I have the score of 89 here, which only deviated one place away. So that means this answer would be 89 is my closest, or deviates the least from my mean. B, we already did, because it says how far is each data value from the mean. So we made a list here of how far each one of our scores was away from the mean. The third thing here says to divide the sum of the values in part B by the number of values in your own words. So what we're going to do now is we're going to basically find the mean again, but this time we're going to find the mean by looking at the numbers we've listed, which are deviation numbers. So when I added up with my calculator all of these new numbers, my deviation numbers, I got a score of 74. And once again, we know the mean is to add them up and then divide by, let's see, we had 14 numbers. And when I did that in my calculator, I got an answer that looked like this. Now, obviously, we don't want to type that big long answer or write that big long answer. So let's go ahead and let's just round it to the nearest thousandth. Well, if you notice, the 5 is in the thousandths place. If I look after the 5, that's a 7, and the 7 tells me to round it up. So we're going to put 5.286. So my mean absolute deviation is 5 and 286 thousandths. So I basically have done the mean twice. So what does this actually mean, this number, this mean absolute deviation? This number basically means that each one of my students' exam scores is approximately, on average, about 5 points away from 88. 5 and a little bit more. Now, if you notice, that's not the exact. We have the exacts. But on average, most of our exam scores were about 5 points away, plus a little more, from 88. That's called our mean absolute deviation. It's basically finding the mean 2 times. All right, so in our notebook now, I'd like for you to write the title of our lesson, which is called Mean Absolute Deviation, and that's known as math. All right, and there's going to be 4 steps that we're going to write in our notes that help us find the mean absolute deviation. Obviously, we're going to need a calculator to add. We're going to actually find the mean twice. So step 1, let's go ahead and write what step 1 is. Step 1 is to find the mean of the data. All right, let's go on to step 2. Step 2 then is to find the distance. So let's write find the distance between each data value and the mean. All right, step 3. This time we're going to find the sum of the distances in step 2. And sum means to add. And finally, step 4, we're going to divide like we do when we find the mean. We're going to divide the sum. We're going to divide the sum that we found in step 3. Okay, that's this one right here. We're going to divide the sum in step 3 by the total number of values. All right, so if you need to pause this to get this written down, go ahead. But let's kind of review. Step 1 is to find the mean of the data. Well, if you remember, on my scores here, pull this back out, I added all of my exam scores. I divided by 14, and I found the mean to be 88. So that would be my step 1. Step 2 was to find the distance between each data value and the mean. So then I looked at my mean of 88. I looked at each score and said, oh, 89, that's 1 away. 86, that's 2 away. And so we made a new list of numbers on how far the data was away from our mean. That's step 2. Step 3 is to find the sum of the distances. So then I took my calculator and I added, sum means to add all of these new numbers up, and I got 74. The final step is to divide the sum that we just found in step 3 by the total number of values. So when I added these up, I got 74, and I divided it by 14 because I had 14 numbers. This is my mean absolute deviation. All right, we're going to try one little sample here. I'm going to give you some numbers, and I want you to write these in your notebook. We're going to do 1, 2, 2, 2, 4, 4, 4, and a 5. So step 1 is to find the mean. So could you guys please add those up for me while I'm writing this down? All right, so let's see. We have 1 plus 2. Let's see, this would be 2, 2, 2. That's 6. So when I added all of these up, it looks like I got a score of 24, right? 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, divided by 8 numbers gives me a score of 3. There's my mean. Step 2, let's see what step 2 says to do. Step 2 says to find the distance between each data value. So if I look here, how far is 1 away from 3? It's 2 places. How far is 2 away from the number 3? It's only 1. There's another 2. That's 1. There's another 2. There's another 1. All right, so let's move over here to 4. How far is the number 4 away from 3? Well, it's also only one place. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to put 1, 2, 3. Boy, look at all these ones we have. And finally, the last number we have is a 5. How far is the number 5 away from 3? 5 minus 3 is 2. So let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Step 2 says to find the distance, which we did. We wrote all the distances. Step 3 now says to find the sum. So now we have to take and we have to add all of those numbers up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2 more makes 10. So we have 10. And finally, the last step is step 4. Step 4 was to divide the sum in step 3. Well, the sum was 10, and divide it by the total number of numbers. Well, let's see. Let's look this up here. We have 10 as our score, and we're going to divide it by 8 numbers. And if we take our calculator and we let's see, turn this on, and we do 10 divided by 8. We get a score of 1 25/100. And this right here is our MAD. Remember, my MAD tells me that my numbers that I originally started with are about 1 25/100 away from the actual mean, which was 3. All right, we're going to actually do a lot more practice with this, but make sure you have these steps with you so you will be ready to work in class.